What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with another season of the Haunted video, and in this one we're going to do a preview of the new rewards for the dungeon in Season 17. There are some very cool weapons and unique archetypes, so I think it's worth taking a look at those, as well as some new triumphs and options inside of the dungeon that will improve the drop rate of its unique exotic. And then there are cosmetic rewards, as well as some unique items associated with solos and flawless runs and things like that. So guys, I hope you enjoy the preview today, and now let's get into it. Initially, let's speak about the new exotic weapon for the dungeon, as well as how it's going to be acquired. So we'll get a new exotic sword as part of the dungeon, and this is called Heart Shadow. It's a void sword, and we can see the intrinsic exotic bonus is Exhumation, where heavy attacks made with full sword energy turn you invisible and fire exploding void projectiles. And then we also have Shot in the Dark, and remaining invisible grants this weapon increased damage for a brief duration, but also hitting a target with the weapon's projectiles while Shot in the Dark is active will weaken them. And so heavy attacks will fire out those void projectiles. Any that it hits but doesn't kill will be weakened. And those hits will also make us invisible, and obviously if we do them successively, it will increase the weapon's damage. It is also going to come with an exotic catalyst, and this has a perk called Wraithwalk, which grants faster movement while invisible, so it's also going to have that increased mobility element. But another really cool thing that Bungie are doing with the drop for this exotic is providing bad luck protection when completing some of the more difficult triumphs for the dungeon. So currently in the Legends tab, the Duality dungeon triumphs are visible, and we have things like Flawless Thought Stealer to complete all encounters in the dungeon without dying. But you can see there's a reward for the triumph, which is an increase to the Heart Shadow drop rate. And so that should be increasing the percentage chance of actually getting the thing to drop. And there are multiple different ones to do, so if you complete all encounters in the dungeon solo, there'll be another increase to the drop rate. We can see right here as well that completing all encounters in the Duality dungeon solo without dying will increase that drop rate, as well as providing a new emblem, which is pretty nice. And the emblem there is called Untouched by Opulence. Then there is also the Master Thought Stealer triumph to complete the Duality dungeon on Master difficulty. Again, that will provide an increase for the drop rate of the dungeon exotic, as well as rewarding a new exotic ship for the dungeon called Mandate of Strength. And that's actually a Hake themed exotic ship right there, which bears a resemblance to the armor for the dungeon, which we'll touch on in a moment. And the final triumph that'll increase the drop rate for Heart Shadow is Mind Heist, which requires us to collect 12 repressed memories of Callus inside of the dungeon. So it'll also come with a new collectible, and of course there are other more minor triumphs available there as well. Before we speak about legendary weapons for the dungeon though, the only other item to get a better look at right here is the emblem for completing the Duality dungeon for the first time, which is called the Deepest Truth. And there's another pretty nice emblem right there. Now though, let's speak about new legendary weapons in the dungeon. The first one I want to touch on right here is called Storm Chaser. It's a new linear fusion rifle. Comes with arc damage, but it's pretty interesting because it's in an aggressive frame, and that fires a 3-round burst. So we've got our first 3-round burst linear fusion rifle right there. Very curious to see what the damage will be like on this archetype, as well as the handling, obviously with that behavior being a bit different to other linears in the game. And of course this dungeon has its own origin trait. It's called Bitter Spite, and while this weapon is equipped, taking damage accelerates its next reload, and taking more damage increases the effect. So for any of the dungeon weapons, when under fire, weapons are going to reload more quickly. Obviously right here we're only getting a look at one potential role for this weapon, but it can get the trait well-rounded by throwing a grenade or hitting a target with a charged melee, grants a stacking bonus to weapon stability, handling, and range. Then using a super will grant maximum stacks. And this one in particular has Demolitionist as well, but otherwise we can't see all of the potential roles for these weapons yet, as they're hidden in the API. The next unique weapon for the dungeon though will be the Unforgiven submachine gun, a new void submachine gun, or should I say yet another void submachine gun right there. This time it's aggressive frame, so it's a 750 RPM. Again, it has the Bitter Spite origin trait, and this particular role in terms of traits has Tunnel Vision, and then Repulsor Brace, one of the new perks for the season, where defeating a void debuffed target will grant an overshield. So it could be pretty interesting right there, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of the potential roles on these weapons. We should also add that for the unique legendaries for the dungeon, currently they don't appear to have weapon patterns, so as far as we know, they're not craftable, and we'll rely on getting random rolls of them in the activity. And the pulse rifle for the dungeon is New Purpose, a high impact frame stasis pulse rifle. Again, it has the dungeon origin trait, and the other bonuses on this particular roll are Heating Up, as well as Focused Fury. I was playing around with a few different shaders looking at this weapon as well, so you can kind of see how that red glow effect interacts with different colors. Safe to say in terms of design, the dungeon weapons are pretty awesome. And the final unique weapon for the dungeon is the Lingering Dread Grenade Launcher. It's a stasis lightweight frame launcher, so it's pressed to fire and released to detonate. And this role has Ambitious Assassin as well as Multi-Kill Clip, so it is a pretty cool one. But there are 2 opulent weapons also linked to the dungeon, which as far as we know won't be dropping in any of the other activities this season. So firstly, there is the Fixed Odds Machine Gun from back in Season of Opulence. And this one features the 2XS origin trait, where final blows with the weapon while the super is full grant a bonus to strength and discipline for a moderate duration. And the traits visible here are Field Prep, as well as Firing Line. And Fixed Odds, as far as we know, will actually have a red box version that can drop inside of the dungeon. So there are going to be at least a couple of craftable weapons in there. The other reprised Opulence weapon is the Epicurean, a void precision frame fusion rifle. And the traits shown here are Feeding Frenzy and Swashbuckler. And so it is going to be cool to get those couple of additional craftable weapons. The badge right here for the dungeon also gives a bit away in terms of potential theme at least, as we do have the Leviathan icon, with some of the old raid icons there as well, so maybe some Leviathan raid mechanics might feature in the dungeon. Although we could speculate forever about potential themes and stuff. Finally though, there is new armor for the dungeon as well, which interestingly is a Hake themed armor set, so Titans get the Deep Explorer set, and in my opinion it is a fairly standard looking armor set right here. Doesn't necessarily look like something that you'd get from a dungeon. Give us your thoughts down below. There's also a quick look at the Hunter helmet right here, as well as the gauntlets, and finally a quick preview of the Warlock set there as well. There are certainly some opinions about the armor pieces, so give us your thoughts in the comments section. However, it's worth adding that if you complete the master version of the dungeon, these armor pieces will drop as artifice versions with the extra mod slot. And so there we go guys, a bit of a preview of the new exotic, those neat triumphs that can increase the drop rate, obviously confirming that it is an RNG exotic, and the new themed weapons which are pretty cool, plus some red box weapons and cosmetics. So give us your thoughts in the comment section, but if you found the video useful today, a rating below really does help us out on the channel. Plus if you're new around here, be sure to get subscribed so I can keep you posted with more D2 content. And if you like, you can also turn on notifications so that I can keep you up to date as soon as we get new info about the game. The support you guys have shown on the channel over the past few weeks has been absolutely awesome as always, so I really do appreciate it. But otherwise for now, thanks as always for tuning in, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.